Luke, is that your best win of the season so far?
Oh, you'd have to say so, yeah. Came here today with both teams in a similar situation, a little bit of momentum, a little bit of belief bubbling up to the surface. So after the start of it with 0-10 in clearance and our backs just being able to weather that storm to get on top so emphatically was quite important. And then I think from then on it was a really an even spread of contribution from so many. So that always gives the coaches a sense of satisfaction when so many are driving out of here feeling pretty good about their performances.
What actually changed clearance-wise, do you think, to generate that turnaround?
We did try something a little bit different. They were getting into good spots, and they would have gone to work and done a little bit of homework on what we've been up to, and so credit to them. And then we needed to just alter that. But Zach Butters in the first quarter had 6 clearances and a fair bit of the footy, and Libba did spend a fair bit of time on him as the game went on. So we needed to quell Zach's influence. He's a very, very good player. So that made a little bit of it, or that made a significant difference. And then I think we just shared the load. And on a day when it's windy and it's pretty much heading quite directly to one end, to give up territory at a centre bounce in the first quarter like we did going into it, it's not ideal. So the calmness and the composure through that, it's important for the boys. And then after that, I think the centre bounce situation was really encouraging.
Tim English, how important was he today?
He's had a really good month, Tim, and he's given us the impetus at the stoppage. But today was his best game in the turnover game, and it was great for him to hit the scoreboard. And I think today he probably came with a focus on getting a little bit of pride back. Jordan Sweetie was quite good against us last time, and I think Tim owned that a bit and wanted to fly the flag and be quite assertive in his role, and he definitely did that. And he's such an important player for us.
How strong is this midfield group now that you've got Bont back and Treloar today as well, but seems to be a lot more depth, I guess, that you've had to develop, I guess, in the earlier weeks this season?
Yeah, it runs pretty deep now when you consider that Matt Kennedy goes through there, Harmsy's playing through that midfield. You've got the kids in Joel Fraser and Riley Sanders. Obviously Sammy Davidson playing on the wing, and then your mainstays who've been there prior, and Richo and Libba and Marcus. And so, yeah, we've got some options, and we can share the load through there. But they know that we can do it differently, and the forward half stuff, I think we had 11 or 12 goal kickers, and we just need to continue to play to our strengths, and their sharing of the ball was quite outstanding. I think the opposition will do some homework on us, but I think we kicked 7 or 8 goals from forward 50 stoppages today, and that's organisation, that's method, that's working together, and look, that's not going to happen every week, but it's a good way to play, and so they all did that tremendously well, and I thought right through the lines, our keys early, and Bailey Williams, James O'Donnell, Rory Lobb just weathering that early storm, and then just thought Norts and Buku and Westy, and then Vanders and Lockie McNeil, and those lads were really influential forward of the ball, as well as those midfielders.
Just on Treloar in particular, how did you see his return after spending a bit of time on the sidelines?
Well, it's a pretty handy return, isn't it? When you think of the quality of him as a player, and what he's been over his time at his best, and to return in that manner and have the influence he did was important for us. One of the things that Adam does as well as anyone in the competition, he has the ball in his hands for long periods of time because he's such a good player when it comes to deception and using left and right sides of his body. And so he's had a pretty good return.
Gold Coast next week. Another road trip, massive test as well.
Huge test. The way they're going, we'll watch their game tomorrow, and we'll head up a little bit earlier. Off the back of probably the first 4 rounds, coming out of gather round, I think it was the early month, the first month of footy was played in probably Darwin light conditions. We've had a bit of a break now, so look forward to it. They beat us up there in got us in a narrow margin, so we'll put this one behind us and set our sights on that in a day or two.
Luke, you must be delighted too that 200 games, Jason Johansson, fine achievement by himself. He's really just over the last couple of weeks as he's come back in the team, giving you a bit extra run with transition, but also he's been a bit of the crossroads over the last couple of seasons as well.
Yeah, only really because of his soft tissue injuries at the crossroads, not because of form. So he complements that back end tremendously well. He helps Bailey Dale and Lockie Bramble and Luke Cleary in those high sort of backline positional areas. So it was great to see him play well in his 200th. Got a bit emotional about JJ when you consider his journey when he first came over when I wasn't at the club. The early challenges coming over from WA. At the time we were aligned with Williamstown and he was playing reserves, like he was playing twos. And his perseverance over his journey and then to become the player that he has and win a Norm Smith medal, play 200 games and be a sort of prolific high half back when he's healthy. He's a great story of resilience and hopefully, who knows, he hasn't lost any of his speed, we don't think, and hopefully he may have future beyond this year in the game, but we'll see how he gets through the ensuing months. But it was great for the boys to be able to win that one today in his 200th, and obviously previously with North's 150th. As much as we don't emphasise the milestones pre-game too much, we do it the day before, and we have a pretty impressive highlights tape. And you can imagine that JJ's was pretty impressive.
And one final note, North's Aaron Norton just seems to be getting a bit better week by week and starting to get a bit better in his form and just pushing up the ground a little bit further. But he took a few, dropped a few marks early, but came back in later in the game and really capitalised. Yeah,
he's solid again for us, Norts, and it was when Sam went out of the team. It's become a strategic or tactical challenge as far as the roles go to make sure we've got enough representation forward of the ball. Today, we went in a bit shorter. We had Jed Buslinger as a sub rather than start with the opportunity to put another tall forward. Last week it was Jed, Rory and James, and we swung Rory forward, and that worked. But I'm always a believer that history doesn't repeat itself. So we went in a bit more nimble. Not that Jed isn't, but we had him up our sleeve tactically, and so that all worked out pretty well in the end. With them having Finlayson, which we thought could happen, but as far as Nostradamus goes, he would have been pleased with himself because it meant tactically we were in a pretty good position, and Bailey Williams didn't necessarily have to defend beyond his height range too much, so that's a good outcome.
Was there a temptation to sub Treloar out in the last quarter, or what was the decision behind not subbing him and subbing Davison out?
Yeah, as competing trains of thought, we came in wanting to make sure that Adam played a certain amount of game time, and ultimately, if you get into that frame of mind where you try to look after your players too much, the sentiment can change to a degree. So even though we're at a decent margin, we gave up almost half a dozen goals, I think 5 goals at the end of last week's game. So we wanted to play to the line, play to the last minute, not give them anything easy, and so he didn't need extra minutes on the bench, and that's where our return to play rehab high performance crew do an outstanding job in preparing our players to come back in and play the minutes that he has today. So, you know, I imagine he'll be a bit sore, a bit domsy, but he'll recover well, and hopefully he's on the plane to Darwin.
Do you enjoy coming up and playing here in Ballarat? And what did you make of the stadium today with the construction site and all that? They're making a few jokes on the broadcast.
Were they?
Yeah.
Well, we do enjoy it. Can you tell me what sort of gags they were? Were they funny
just
or?
About the drills and the tractors. And
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, I was, you know, when you think of how it's going to end up, and with the stands, it's Kenny trying to get in. Okay. Yeah, it's going to look unbelievable in a couple of years' time, isn't it? So yeah, but we love coming here, and the good thing is we're winning most often when we come now. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.